On this episode, I'm going to break down 5 ways in how my life in Poland differs from my life in the UK. Boom! Boom! Cześć ludzie, what's up people? Hola, JT here. Welcome to another episode. 3 years almost since I moved here permanently. And I gotta say, there's a lot of learning experiences from my end. And most importantly, a lot of surprises. When I decided to propose to Carolina that maybe we should move to Poland, I knew that Poland was different. But at the same time, I felt that I was very acquainted with those differences, that I knew what Poland was about, at least to a very high degree. The same, I thought that I knew what Poles were like. Come on, I've been married to a Pole at that point for, 11 years, 10 years, family members and all that. And most importantly, we used to travel to Poland very, very often. So to me, those differences not only were going to be very manageable, but exciting even. A lot of the things that I thought I knew about Poles, well, I was right in many of them, but so many more have been such a pleasant surprise. Of course, some not so pleasant surprises as you would imagine, but we're gonna leave those for another episode. Now, the next 5 things are not necessarily gonna be focused on either negativity or positivity. They're just gonna be a collection of very, very important learning experiences and surprises that completely changed my perspective of Poland and of the UK for that matter. Point number 1 is relationships. And this one was a very interesting discovery. English people are friendly, welcoming, chatty. They're open, amazing sense of humor. And to be fair, it's quite easy to feel at home and feel welcome in the UK. And in London, even more. Such an international city full of people from all over the world that are all joining this extremely international place that has its own vibe and character. I felt extremely comfortable in London. There is something to the bigness and the grandiosity of the city that sometimes can make you feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's quite unmanageable. But when it comes to the amount of things that you can explore and do and the interesting people and characters that you can meet, then it's quite difficult to rival London. And when we were coming here, it was one of the things that kind of worried me. You see, in London, I was living what I felt was a great life. I was playing a lot of music. I had a band and I was networking a lot. I kind of felt like I had one foot in and I was doing my thing. My social circle became relatively large in London. I felt at home. And although I loved a lot of things about Poland, the social aspect, the relationship aspect was not one that necessarily excited me. And although here in Poland I knew we had friends, namely my wife's friends mostly, and family, I still thought that, hey, I have it pretty good in the UK, so I was a little bit worried. But then something truly magical started to happen when we moved here. A lot of this has to do, first of all, to my wife Carolina, who actively decided to build a support group, to build a community. And number 2, to our son Vigo, who had to come to Poland and go to school and start making friends. And throughout those little friendships that he built, we build relationships with the parents of those children. It has become such a incredible community. We really feel like we have friends, like we have people here that care about us. As much as I really loved my life in the UK from that aspect, it was a little bit selfish because it was all surrounding the music world that I was in. Still, we had not really built a community for our family. We had some local friends, but it was very difficult. London is a big place. Sometimes people move away, and even just half an hour away, it would be problematic to get together. And here in Poland, it feels like people still value the community aspect of relationships. At the beginning, they are a little bit reserved, maybe a little bit distant. That is a characteristic that Poles have, and no one is going to change that. But I feel that once you establish those connections, they feel very real. They feel very solid. makes us feel grounded, makes us feel like this is the place where we really truly belong. Yeah, maybe when you're in your 20s or in your 30s, or you're single, or perhaps you just don't have children, it's very easy to make almost any place work. But when you have a family, when you have children, the most important thing is to give those kids the most amount of stability you can. And it's very difficult when you're in a place that people have a harder time committing to because of the distance, time management, and so on. The second point was kind of like expected, and one of the reasons why we moved here, and that is finances. Obviously, salaries in the UK are much better than in Poland. As a matter of fact, if I have one bone to pick with Poland and Polish economy, is the fact that, yeah, all the indicators are there, everything looks fantastic on paper, and to be honest, in practice also looks great. But salaries are just a little bit too low. But when it comes to what you actually earn, well, the UK is going to be better. But then you have to start looking through the little gaps, because not everything is what it seems. Yes, you earn a lot more in the UK, but does that really make your quality of life that much better? One of the biggest problems in the UK is housing. People cannot afford to rent, let alone to buy. In Poland, even though, yes, salaries are low, prices are really skyrocketing here. I felt that even in the 3 years that I've been living here, still, there's this feeling that in Poland, you can still own something. You work hard, you put away some money, and you can still go on holidays. You can still even get a mortgage, buy a house, and somehow, some way, own a little bit of land. It seems a lot more real here in Poland. I don't want to even tell you about owning a place in the UK, maybe more specifically in London, which is where we lived. If you go to the supermarket and you buy £50 worth of nothing, one bag, there's nothing for £50. In Poland, there's so much food that is internally produced. I feel that it is easier to not only live a normal life, feed your family, but do so in a way that is still healthy. You're not just eating beans from a can. Yes, if you want to compare how much someone earns in Poland to how much the same position earns in the UK, then of course Poland is going to look. But I don't think we should view it like that, especially if we have family. You cannot be living with 2 or 3 other people when you have children. You are literally sharing the same little tiny space with, of course, a very questionable construction, or at least foundations of the house. I am a big fan of England vibe. They are beautiful, especially when they take care of them. At the same time, are we going to compare that with Polish construction? So if we talk about finances and that aspect, in my opinion, I think that Poland still has more to offer. I don't know. Poland seems like the right place. On that last point, we talked about something that is very relevant to point number 3. We said quality of life. Obviously, this will mean something different to different people. Some people feel that quality of life is having options to explore the world, to travel, to try different cuisines, to go to different restaurants, to go to all the concerts from all the important bands and artists. But to others, quality of life is commuting short amount of time, or being able to go to a supermarket and not have to be on a queue all the time. As a matter of fact, forget about a supermarket. Anywhere you go, there's going to be some sort of queue when you live in a city that is so busy as London is. And I will tell you, this is one of those where me and my wife differ quite a lot. I'm a city kid, as I grew up in a capital city, in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. When you compare it to my wife's upbringing, which was in a little village 20-30 minutes from Łódź, then even to this day, that is really calm life. So for example, to her, sitting on a metro for 50 minutes just to go, I don't know, whatever, to a concert, it was not enjoyable to her. And I know she's not alone in that sentiment. They cannot escape people around them all the time. It's like this choking feeling. Whereas some other people, and I can include myself there to some degree, we feel alive with those type of cities. We like them. Now, I will tell you something. Warsaw, which is where we live, has become slowly such an international city. And here now, you go to central Warsaw and you hear people speaking English, speaking Ukrainian, speaking Hindu, speaking different African languages, as a matter of fact. You see people from different races, different skin colors. And that is astounding. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, it's a beautiful thing. We're not going to get into the whole immigrant thing. If you're going to come to Poland, please come respecting the rules, get your papers, don't do the illegal crap. I also would like my children to grow up in a place where they can learn from other cultures. I really like that about Warsaw. And I know that the same happens in other big cities in Poland, such as Kraków, such as Poznan, which I was recently there and I really, really liked it. By the way, let me plug my second channel. It's a travel channel. It's called Jestem JT. You know, let's call it informally Jestem JT Podróże. Basically, I want to go everywhere I can in Poland. Okay, sponsorship part of the video done. I'm sponsoring my own video. Huh? How lame is that? But all I am saying is that to some people, quality of life might have a completely different meaning than to other people. When you are going to make a decision where you're going to be, just make sure that you research, make sure that you understand what you're getting yourself into. Thankfully, I knew what, Poland was about. I knew what Warsaw was about, and it played a big role into us making the decision as to where to move. It maybe would have been a lot easier for us to move to Łódź, because again, Karina's parents are relatively nearby, but we wanted a place that felt calm, but also felt international, that also felt alive, because those were things that I wanted and that I craved. We did right, in my opinion. We still have great quality of life, but also we get to enjoy a lot of cultural things that keep enriching our multicultural selves. The fourth point is social culture. You see, in the UK, there is this element of just easygoingness with people. It feels like it's very easy to just build relationships. The depth of those relationships maybe is to be determined, of course, but there's just an easygoingness to the process. You meet somebody at a pub. You sit down, you have a pint, somebody sitting next to you, they're going to 7 times out of 10, they're going to initiate some sort of conversation. They're going to say something, you're going to say something back, they're going to laugh. And then by the time you're done with your pint, you feel like you know this person. I know that you don't really know them. And that is something that Polish people feel really proud of. And it's kind of like an irk that they have. Is this thing that really bothers them when people want to assume that just because you spend some time with somebody, you already know them, you're already friends. Poles are very, very jealous of their private lives. And they are very cautious as to who they open up to, but also what they say. It takes a while. You need to warm them up. A lot of Poles say, yeah, Brits are nice, but Poles are real. I don't know, maybe I cannot argue with that. A lot of the people that I met in the UK, we hung out a lot. We had a wonderful time in, like I said, in those songwriting retreats and everything. And sadly, I don't keep contact with almost any of them these days. You can say that I am also to blame for that because maybe I'm not reaching out as often or whatever. It seems like you can create connections very easily, like a magnet. You see like those children's games that have magnets and on each end, and you can like do like tuk, 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 very easily. But then just as easy, they go bloop, 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 and they separate. Here in Poland, what I've encountered so far, I want to give myself some more years to see the relationships that I've built, especially the ones that I have built independently from my wife, because my wife has her set of friends that were here and everything, in relationships that she had before she moved away, but those are not my relationships, those are her relationships. And I cannot rate Polish people's ability to remain close and to remain friends, I guess, if I don't have my own, the ones that I've built myself with people that have common things with me. But I do feel like here, there's a little bit more of a follow-up. People will follow up with you. They will say, hey, you want to hang out? You want to do this? You want to do that? In England, it was fantastic, especially when you're a Latino like me. You are used to doing quick connections with people. It's very easy. At the same time, sadly, those relationships sometimes don't stick. The social relationships and the way of social dynamics here at the beginning might be harder, but then at the end it will be more fruitful, more prosperous. Maybe it's going to be more soul enriching. I don't have a real answer for you in this, but I wanted to cover this point because, again, in the UK I felt like I had this. Maybe I thought I was going to have those friends for forever, and here I am not really having contact with almost any of them. If you're a Pole or a foreigner, it doesn't really matter. I would love to hear what you have to say, what are your thoughts, and what are your discoveries in this matter. And the fifth and final thing is safety and pace of life. I've been coming to Poland for a long time. I knew what especially the pace of life in Poland was. And I also knew that Poland was one of the safest countries in the world, because safety in the UK has gone down so rapidly and so violently. Now Poland feels like a warm hug, like a warm embrace. I can go out at night. Doesn't matter what I'm wearing. It doesn't matter if I have relatively nice watch or if I have a backpack or a camera equipment with me. It's just gonna be safe. I don't have any sort of fear that if I'm with my camera recording something and I hear a bicycle, it's gonna be like, whoop, like it happens in the UK these days. Not only that, knives and gangs. In my opinion, it's a little sad to see what has happened to the UK. At the same time, it just makes Poland feel even that much better. And the same goes with pace of life. I hear Paul sometimes saying that Warsaw is a little bit too fast and too busy and the traffic and jams. And I gotta say, listen, don't get me wrong. Yes, there are some traffic jams and stuff. But when you come from Santo Domingo, when you come from London, Warsaw just feels like calmer way of life here in Poland. Poles are just calmer people. They're not so excitable. They're not so, like Poles are entrepreneurial. At the same time, they are not the people that are going to go and be setting up businesses left and right all the time in trying to keep up with the Jonesons and there's this new trend happening somewhere, in Asia. Oh, we need to bring that here. And all of a sudden you're going to have 7 businesses of that. There's a calmness to things. It takes a while for Poles to process things and to incorporate it into the culture, because they are guarded of their culture. And I respect that. I understand that. And hey, it's now become part of my life too. There's really not a better place than Poland for me right now, for my family. It's home. We are where we were supposed to be. And I love being here. But it's a different life. And it's working pretty damn well for me these days. Boom! That's all, guys. That's the end of this episode. I hope you liked it. I would love to hear your opinion, especially if you have any experience on this subject. If you are a Pole that lived in the UK for 20 years and now you are back here, as all of the news outlets are showing, all the press releases saying that, Poles are coming back home after 20 years, after 30 years. They are giving the motherland another try. Poland's like that person in school that was not bad looking, but was not the star of the show, right? It was that person that peaked a little bit after high school. And the one that peaked in high school, the one that everyone was after and everyone was like, now all of a sudden, it's like, maybe that person is not all that anymore. But that other one that you overlooked, now all of a sudden, it's like, damn. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts and to read your comments. See you on another episode. Bye-bye.